Hi, I'm Patricia Marshall Harris, and welcome to Dishing with Patricia. As a food, nutrition, and healthy lifestyle consultant, I believe that food is our medicine. As the host of Dishing with Patricia, I also believe in connecting with notable guests who are also willing to dish about themselves, local events, community topics, and of course, food. Today, I'm pleased to introduce my featured guest, Roger Walton. Roger, who currently serves as Vice President at the Premier Financial Group, located in Glenside, Pennsylvania, specializes in developing financial strategies for wealth creation and management. With over 25 years of experience in financial planning, I'm excited for him to share his knowledge with us. So let's get started. What inspired you on the career path that you're now on?
My community that I grew up in, just looking around, just seeing the different, I guess maybe advantages and disadvantages. And I thought one of the disadvantages that I saw was that we weren't handling our money correctly. As I went to school and discovered it, I figured that's what the best thing to bring back to the community to help them. And by helping the parents, it turns around that I help the kids as well.
Was anyone in your family creating any financial freedoms for you guys?
Yes and no. I mean, not in the sense of dealing with finances, but in the sense of my dad was a business owner. My dad did air conditioning and refrigeration.
Okay.
And for 40 plus years, if not longer, and he had his own business. So I got to see exactly what a business owner goes through. But at the same token, I just realized that not only maybe in our household, but maybe in other households, that I just felt that money could be handled just a little bit differently in order to, again, allow the parents to have the opportunity of handling the money correctly so they can spend more time with their kids.
Having your dad as an entrepreneur, that gave you an insight on when times were good, when times were bad, and how your parents handled their money.
Right, but also just taking a step back to your comment a moment ago is that my dad did have something that was valuable, and that was the business.
Correct.
But at that particular point in time, I didn't realize that the business was as valuable as it was. Maybe over a decade ago, or maybe not longer, we took my dad to dinner, maybe on his birthday or something like that, and I apologized to him. I apologized because we dropped the ball as children. We dropped the ball because he had something so valuable that he could have transferred over to us, that we could have taken it and run with. And that's so important because in many businesses, in the first 5 years, that tells if your business is going to be successful or not. And here it is, he's 30 plus years in, and so we should have been able to take that and to run with it.
If you learn how to work in the business that your family is in an earlier age, then you learn how to appreciate it, not just benefit from it from on the financial side of it.
Yeah, and well, you're showing a lot more wisdom than we had, because I've been working since I was 10 years old. We were going to grab screwdrivers, going to a Phillips screwdriver, a regular screwdriver, whatever he needed from the van, to bring so he could do the project. So we've been working for a long time, but we just didn't see the wisdom of having the business to be able to be passed down. We were kind of saying, we go to school, get that degree, go work for someone. But technically, the model should have been, hey, your dad has something valuable. You need to get your hands and your mind wrapped around it.
Tell me, what exactly is a financial planner?
A financial planner, in a nutshell, is someone who takes a look at the finances of an individual or a company, and based on what is already on the tables, per se, as far as what their goals are, helps them to design a plan that helps them to reach those financial goals.
When should you start?
That's a good question. I mean, everyone's somewhat different. Me personally, like my kids have already started. My kids have Roth IRAs. My kids have other investment accounts, and they have life insurance and so forth. And and they started when they were 14 or 15 years of age, so they've been doing it for a while. I tell my daughter, I said, she's contributing to a Roth IRA, and she's like, well, why am I putting in money into a retirement account? I said, what you're doing right now is what 90% of the individuals who are adults are aiming for, which is retirement. So you're getting a jump on it. So you're doing it right now. And she was only 14 when she started working.
So when did you start saving? When did you start your financial? We understand you started working at 10, but at 10, did you have that piggy bank? Did you put that money in and then took it over to the bank?
I worked at Tom McCann's shoe store. I was 14 and I worked at the shoe store, and I remember receiving my first paycheck. The first paycheck was probably about $80 or so. And I remembered going to buy a pair of sneakers, and the cost was about $75. Wow. So I spent $75 from my $80 check on a pair of sneakers. And I remember Ms. Gwendolyn Fox, she said to me, what did I spend the money on? And I told her. And she said, wow, that wasn't wise.
Wow.
And I was only 14 at the time, and that stuck with me ever since then. And I realized that, maybe money can be handled a little bit better.
That's deep. Did your parents say something to you about what you could do, 14, what you could do with your check?
No, unfortunately, no. And that's part of the problem, is that parents don't have that conversation with their children about money as much as they should.
How should we have that conversation?
When you're sitting down and you're writing out bills, that's the perfect time to have the conversation. As you know, when you're at the kitchen table, or maybe even after dinner and so forth, and you just want to just have that conversation. Say, hey, listen, I'm paying the Pico bill is this amount this month and so forth, and this is the reason why it's this amount, because we use such and such, and I'm paying it. This is my income. I'm utilizing it to pay, and I'm also going to put some money over here in savings. So that conversation should go on an ongoing basis.
When should we start investing seriously? Because at a certain age, you're like, I got to catch up. I really need to do this. You need to be more aware of this.
Right, yes.
When should you really be serious about it? I'm an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs don't have a 401k.
Right.
We don't have the company contributing to it, and then all of these types of things. So when should we start? Is 40 too late?
Well, 40 is not too late. That's number one. Number two, you should start as soon as your budget allows. One of the things that I think that we're probably all guilty of is having too much debt. So technically, we need to try to make sure that our debt is low. That's number one. And by having low debt allows you the opportunity to carve out a couple of dollars to save. Even if you're doing $50 a month or $100 a month, that's a great place to start. What I tell people is that small money becomes big money over time.
Yes.
You have to be mindful of where you spend your dollars. Everyone wants your money but you. Everyone is vying for your dollars. Everyone, you want to sell something, and the reality is you need to kind of desire your money as much as the next person. So technically, you're going to have to say, okay, hey, maybe you have to forego certain things at a particular point in time in order for you to save those dollars. And I think that's just important. And this might set some people off, but hey, I mean, if it means cutting the cable in order for you to save money, then that's what it is. You have to cut the cable. I'm assuming on average at least about $80, $100 a month. So if you have to cut that in order for you to save that $80, $100 a month so you can get your emergency reserves in order so that you can start to invest on top of that, it's something that needs to be done.
How do you find a financial advisor? How do you know you can trust someone? Yeah. Where do you go?
Naturally, you can go online and do those different things, and there's financial advisors at banks as well. But I think also, word of mouth is always a good thing. Find out maybe who a friend is working with and what have you. Majority of my clients come to me through referrals. It's nothing that I've done in marketing or anything of that nature. They just, folks have trusted in me, and by them putting their trust in me, they feel that their family members and their friends could put trust in me as well. So it's really just word of mouth.
So we know that the poverty level is very high in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So does that create a unique challenge for businesses as well as individuals to start this planning?
That's a good question. And if I had to answer that directly, I would have to say, it may pose a challenge, but the reality is, when you look at the amount of money that's spent in our community on an annual basis,
yes,
it's significant.
Yes.
So to me, that says the money is there. It's just being spent incorrectly. So again, someone will have to forego some of the fancier things at a younger age in order to get their financial foundation firm. And then once that takes place, then they can go back and grab those extra things they wanted on top of that. But again, based on the stats and based on what I've read over the years, the money is there. It's just being spent poorly. Right.
If I called you and said, Roger, I'm just turned 50. I have very little savings.
Right.
I own my home. I have little or no credit card debt.
Right.
How can I start saving? What should I do?
Well, the first thing to do is to look at the budget. That's the first thing to do. Once you determine that you do have some excess dollars, if you will, and regardless of how much that is, that will be the next step. And then first thing you want to do is to make sure that you have emergency reserves. And that just means maybe, some people will say 2 or 3 months of your income sitting in cash. And I would just say, if you got $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 sitting in cash. That's great, because most emergencies are not going to cost that amount. Once you have that saved up, then you start to open up an investment account above and beyond that. Simply just filling out an application, just determining how much you want to deposit, and then just look to do it on a regular basis. You just start off small, and as the account grows, then you can get into more sophisticated type of investments and so forth.
What do you think about real estate as an investment?
It's great. I have no problem with real estate. I mean, it all depends on which way you want to attack it. Some people attack it with the physical property, and having those real estates, and some folks flip it and do all those different things, or even rent and what have you. And then there's also a product out there called a REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. That's another way of getting involved in the real estate game without having to have a physical property per se that you have to manage on a regular basis. So REITs are maybe appropriate for certain individuals, but that's another opportunity as well. So real estate is good.
How diverse should your portfolio be if you want to start investing? I mean, I don't know if it's level 1, 2, 3. Is it, should you be aggressive? Should you be moderate? Should you be conservative? All of those things have to do with your age. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. When it comes to risk, yes, it is appropriate based on age. But at the same token, you have to keep in mind that everyone's different. Everyone's different, right? You love the kitchen, you know what goes on in the kitchen. So some people like something, like the way this tastes to me is great. Some people might say, well, that's a little too sweet, but at the same token, for me, it's perfect. So everyone's different, right? Okay, well, what's the next step? The next step is, as far as diversification is concerned, is just start off small. You don't have to have many different type of investments. Just start somewhere. That's the important thing. Start somewhere. And then as the account grows, then what you would like to do is just to determine what level of risk you feel comfortable with. And let's just say maybe the account's maybe at the $5,000 level and so forth. Then you just answer a few risk questions, determine how much risk you feel comfortable with, and then you get a portfolio that matches up well with your risk.
How do you delay paying taxes? Because you say, this just hypothetically, okay, it made me $1,000. The next thing you know, I got a $1,000 tax bill or something like that. So those are some things that people are quite concerned about in any type of gain.
Sure.
The tax implications.
Yeah, the beauty of paying taxes, if I can say that. If most people won't think it's a beautiful thing, but the reality is when you pay taxes, in many cases, that means there's a gain. Secondly, there are investments where you do have to pay the capital gains and the dividend taxes on a regular yearly basis, if you will. But there are some investments that you don't have to. And then there's also retirement accounts, IRAs, for example, where those dollars grow tax deferred, so you won't have to pay taxes on that until the money's received later on down the road. But again, taxes is really not the biggest monster. You know what's really the biggest monster?
What is it?
It's inflation. This orange here, this lemon right here. The lemon, I'm just going to just pick a number. The lemon maybe 25 cents, about 5 years ago, but now that same lemon is now 55 cents.
Yes.
So the price goes up, and that's the reality of life. Inflation is the biggest monster. So your money has to keep pace with inflation or outperform inflation, or really instead of getting the loaf, you want to be able to buy the slices.
Okay. What do you think about digital currency?
Some individuals out there are cyber attacking organizations and asking them to pay in digital currency. And the reason they do that is because it's untraceable. So the government really, in a sense, really has to get involved in order to, one, to cut that out. And then once the government gets involved and cuts that out, then I think the cuteness of the digital currency may somewhat kind of sizzle away and so forth. But at the same token, remember, the reason why you invest is because you want to own something. You can correct me if you know a little bit more about it than I do. I've done a little bit of homework on it. It's really not so much a product that you're purchasing. It's really just the sizzle, if you will. So for example, if you own stock in, let's say, Lowe's, for example, technically you own shares, you own some of the Lowe's Corporation. So that should feel good, but I don't think you have that same level of ownership when it comes to digital currency. And again, I'm researching more all the time, but I think that's how it works.
Tell me some of the things that we should be concerned about, that should be red flags about approaching an investor. What type of homework should we do?
One, you can always check the background check of the individual. All right, there's something called broker check, and you can do that. You can just find out about the particular broker that you're working with.
Right.
I mean, that's one scenario. The other scenario, I guess, is someone that might just always looking to sell constantly. You know, I think that might be problematic. And when they want you to buy something all the time. Because some organizations work on fees and some work on commissions, you know, so everyone's a little different. So you have to find out as an individual investor, where do you fall on that spectrum? Where do you feel most comfortable? Again, so that's probably the best step, is to find out exactly how that particular person operates and then make your decisions from there. But again, broker check, getting referrals, being leery of them trying to always, just sell something for the sake of selling something. I don't think that's prudent for the individual.
How would we get in touch with you? I'm growing my viewership.
Okay, great.
And I'm hoping that folks that's going to watch this are they going to call me and say, or text me or write me, or go on classyessentialnutrition.com, make a comment and say, hey, how do I get in touch with Roger?
They can reach us at premierfinancialgroup.com.
Yes.
And then also our phone number is 215-887-4750. You can reach us directly there and just ask for me, and then we'll have a conversation.
On Dishing with Patricia, we have a food segment. I'm hoping you will stay with me, and maybe we'll dish about some food and dish a little more about investments.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the cooking portion of Dishing with Patricia. Roger,
yes.
Have you been enjoying this lemonade?
It's very good, very tasty. I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
I mean, it's probably my 5th glass, but who's counting?
Okay, we won't say anything about it. This is Basil Lemonade. I used fresh squeezed lemons. I used basil. The recipe is on classyandessentialnutrition.com. You should check it out. This is going to be a favorite for your family over the summer. I used basil, but you could use mint.
Okay.
You can use any type of herb. The key to this is a simple syrup. A simple syrup, as I said to you, find the recipe on my website. This is very refreshing.
It is.
Thank you. So the salad that we're going to make is a simple salad. It's summertime. Everything is in bloom. It's time to eat light, quick, easy, simple. So Roger, would you mind passing me? This is arugula. I'm going to just add this to the salad. So tell me, who does the cooking in your home?
My wife does the cooking in my home.
You,
she does an excellent job too, by the way.
Does she?
Yes.
This is a mixed green salad. We all know that he needed to say that, right?
No, it's the truth. She's very, very well versed in the kitchen, if I could put it in that manner.
Yes, that's wonderful. What type? We may I have the blueberries.
Sure.
You said that your family was from Jamaica.
Correct. Yes.
So, does your wife cook Jamaican type dishes for you?
Yes, she's from Trinidad and Tobago, so we're very close as far as the West Indies is concerned.
Yes,
and yes,
carrots.
so she does make those
Peas and
West
rice
Indian,
and things.
Yes, from time to time she does do that.
Okay. What is one of your favorite meals when you were growing up? This is tomatoes, cherry tomatoes.
Oh my! One of my favorite meals growing up. I would have to say one of my favorite meals is something called Ackee and Saltfish.
Yes.
You've heard of that?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
And red onions. This is red onions. Don't forget the recipes on classyessentialnutrition.com. Oh, I love that.
Yes, that's one of my favorite dishes growing up.
Oh. So are you able to have some of that now? We're going to save this for the topping.
Okay, yes.
We're just going to mix this together.
Right.
This is just carrots, red onions, tomatoes. You have all of your, and I put blueberries in there, and I have some dried cherries. Dried cherries, if you have tart cherry juice, is an anti-inflammatory, which is going to help you with people that have arthritis or any other type of joint ailments. It's wonderful.
And that's me right there.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just plate this here, and then I'm going to top it with the seeds and the sprinkle a little bit of the cheese. But I'm going to show my guests how to make a salad dressing. I mention all the time that I make my salad dressings. Salad dressings are the key to a salad.
Yes.
It can make a salad or break a salad.
Right.
I happen to make excellent salad dressings. So look up this recipe and other salad dressings on ClassyEssentialNutrition.com. So this is a little bit of everything. The multicolored tomatoes. I'm going to top it with some sunflower seeds. Always add seeds and nuts to your salad.
Okay.
This is vegan Parmesan cheese.
Vegan Parmesan.
This is
Okay.
vegan. This is
All
vegan.
right.
Everything that you're going to have today is going to be plant-based.
All right. That sounds
And
good.
most of my recipes, even though they're plant-based, they could be adopted to a fish or a chicken. Always the base of the salad. Either some scallions or some garlic or onion or something like that.
All right.
This is garlic.
Garlic.
Olive oil. Always lemon juice.
Always lemon juice.
Always
Okay.
lemon juice. Always lemon juice. Here is some vegan parm. And here is some vegan mayo, just to give it some body.
All right. Why do you say always lemon juice? Why
Because it has some citrus. You always want to add some
okay.
citrus to your salad.
Gotcha. Okay.
And here's some salt and pepper. Be a little generous. It's going to chop up the garlic. You don't have to worry about it.
Right. You know, this is great. You know, I always say eat healthy. Your health is your wealth.
Yes, yes, it is. So I made this already, so I put in this cute little container to pour it over there for you. So why don't you have a seat over there?
Okay.
And while you're enjoying that, tell me what you're talking about when you said parents are VIPs.
Well, Parents are VIPs. It's a social organization, and it was designed to remind parents that they're the most important thing in the children's life. Based on the stats and just based on common knowledge, in many cases, parents have the most influence on their children. And between the ages of 1 and 5 or 1 and 6, they're the most crucial time of any child's life. That's where the fundamental development begins. So if we can get parents to re-engage with their children at that age, that would make our society so much better.
Okay, so why don't you partake of your salad?
All right.
We're going to come back because I have another dish, and I'm going to continue to dish with Roger about family, about our finances, about food, and we'll be right back. So the dish that we're going to make now is a pasta dish with lemon and French beans. So first of all, whenever you're cooking, you should always have your skillet already hot. The oil should already start. You don't want to start cold.
Right.
So it's always good. So we're going to just give this just a second. But while I'm waiting on that, can you tell me, what is this CYBA program that you're involved in?
Well, the CYBA is it's an acronym for Christian Youth Basketball Association. And it's a basketball program just to reach young people. That's really what it's all about. We just try to tell young people how much God loves them. We know that when young people know that God loves them and they realize that there is a relationship that they can have with God, we find out that it changes their behavior overall. So that's really what we're all about.
So how did you get started in this?
Good question. I always wanted to coach, but I just wanted to coach with a purpose. And then 20 years ago, and the reason I know that because a player that I coached when he was age 12, he just turned 32. And I got a phone call and he said, hey, they got a bunch of young men here who want to learn how to play the game of basketball. But the person who made the call to me, he coached baseball. He didn't know anything about basketball. So here it was, an opportunity for us to have basketball and also have the Bible in the mix of it all. So I decided to jump in at that particular time.
Someone else in your family was in basketball, and yourself?
Yeah. One of my older brothers.
I'm sorry, he's a scallion.
Yeah,
While you're talking to me, I don't mind if so let's talk.
Yeah, one of my older brothers, yes. Richard, he played for University of Pittsburgh. He was a walk-on at University of Pitt. He played here in Philadelphia over at Parkway. And he's 6'5", so he has great height on him.
Wow, so if everyone in your family has some height, they're tall?
Yes. I remember many moons ago, I was a kid and we went to the doctor. My mom took me to the doctor, and I was a small kid, and I remember the doctor saying, "Oh, don't worry about it, you're going to grow." Because my mom is 5'10", so
wow.
It was, I guess it was in the genes, so to speak.
Right. So this is some garlic. This recipe can be found on Classy and EssentialNutrition.com. So I have some scallions in here, and now I'm going to add some garlic. So what do you think about a plant-based diet? Being from the islands, you guys, there are a lot of foods that you have that are plant-based.
Right, correct, right. Yeah, as I mentioned, Ackee and Saltfish is, well, primarily Ackee. The Ackee is plant-based and so forth.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Definitely at my age nowadays, is just trying to eat healthier.
Right.
I'm all for plant-based products.
Yeah. So while we're going to just let this start to simmer a little bit,
Okay.
if we just want the garlic to just soften just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just easy things. You said health is your wealth.
Right.
Tell me, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that, I mean, if you don't have good health, it's really hard to enjoy, the monetary aspect of life, because technically if you're in aches and pains and you really just can't enjoy the things that you would normally enjoy because of, your health situation. And I'll tell you a quick story here.
Please.
There was a young man who inherited some dollars. And I remembered that he heard that I was going to be the financial advisor responsible for the money he inherited. And so he would call me on a regular basis and, hey, what's going on with the money and so forth and what have you. When he found out that he was sick and he was passing away, the conversation was never about the money anymore. The conversation was about money. Well, I think we're okay, but then when his health started to change, the conversation shifted to eternity. So that's why, you can just see there that wealth is really not built around the monetary aspect of it, it's really your health.
If you have health issues, is it difficult for people to obtain life insurance? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to die, but
Right.
you may have some health issues and you decide you want to leave your family something. What do people do in those type of circumstances?
Well, I mean, if a person is not healthy and you're looking for life insurance, you just have to shop around. Because you will find in certain cases there may be a company out there that will be able to provide coverage.
Right.
Naturally, the cost might be a little bit more expensive than the norm, but at least the opportunity is there. But what I recommend to families, though, is really for young people to get life insurance. We talked about my kids earlier, and both of my kids have life insurance, and they don't need it. But they have it just because I know eventually one day they're going to get older and they're going to need it.
Right.
But now they have the coverage in place and so forth. And if they want to supplement what they already have, that's fine. But the fact that their health is intact now, and that's the most important thing. Their health is intact now, so we get the coverage while the cost is low.
And it won't change?
No, their premiums won't change, no.
So my next question is, there are two kinds of life insurances. One is term, and the other's what, life?
Whole life.
Whole life. Can you
Whole life.
explain the difference to my audience? What's the difference between whole and...
Sure, all right. Well, let me.
But before you start
Okay,
that,
yeah.
I know people.
What you need.
So that was pepper.
Okay.
This is some salt. I'm going to add, this is coarse, this is some fine sea salt.
Okay.
And I'm going to, you just pass me that lemon, please. We're going to put this in here.
You always have lemon, right?
Yeah, always have some lemon. Not everything, but yes.
Okay.
So, come on, finish telling me about this. Is really interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, term insurance, for the lack of a better definition, is really like you're just renting insurance for that particular point in time. So you might have, like, let's say, for example, a 10-year term. So that means the premium payments will stay the level for the same for 10 years.
Right.
Right. And then it's kind of like renting in a place. You stop paying the rent, and you have to do what? You have to move. It's the same thing with the permanent insurance. Now, with whole life insurance, technically there's some what they call cash value build up on the inside of the contract.
Yes.
And that's kind of similar to owning a home. When you decide to move, guess what? If there's any equity inside the property, guess what? It goes with you. So that's the difference between the two. And I will add that there's a third type of policy out there. And some will even say there's maybe even three or four total. But there's another product out there called Universal Life, and that's kind of like a blend between the two. All right, so it gives you a little bit more flexibility than the whole life policy, but at the same token, it gives you a little bit lower cost comparable to the term.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to, this is our pasta here.
Okay, and that's a special type of pasta.
Yes, and gluten-free pastas. This is made with quinoa. This is not made with wheat. This is not going to raise your glycemic numbers. And we all are very aware of what's going on with diabetes in all of the communities.
Yeah.
So I suggest to you that you eat different types of pastas. Some are made with brown rice, quinoa, lentils, there are a number of rices that you can get. And I'm going to just zest some lemon. This is a zester. And when you see it says lemon zest, see this is taking the skin off of the lemon, right. And it's really, really good. It's releasing the oils. You can add a piece of fish with this, or you can have some chicken. Thank you very much. And let's put this here. And while Roger is tasting that, I just topped it with some vegan Parmesan cheese. I'm also going to sprinkle some toasted walnuts. Whenever you're cooking, just add a little depth to your nuts by roasting them or toasting them. I'm so happy that Roger came on today to explain some of the complexities of being financially free and how we should start, what age we should start. We should start early with our children, explaining our budget, what the household income is, not necessarily what your parents are making, but what they're spending their monies on. I want to thank my guest, Roger, for coming while you continue to eat. I appreciate you coming on. I hope you guys enjoyed Roger as much as I did. Until next time, bye.